The streets of Tulsa are quiet tonight. Too quiet. Smoke rises from what was once Dwight Manfredi's kingdom. A kingdom built on loyalty, money, and fear. But as the flames spread, so does the truth. Friends have turned to enemies. Allies have vanished. And the general himself stands in the ashes of the empire he created. This is not just another gang war. This is the fall of a king. The episode opens with a strange sense of peace. That kind of peace that always means something bad is coming. We see Dwight sitting at the bar he built, the Black Macadam, the heart of his new empire. The lights are dim, the glasses are empty, and the silence feels heavy. For the first time, Dwight looks tired, not from the fights or the money troubles, but from the people around him. He knows something is wrong. He can feel it. Tulsa has changed him. When Dwight first came here, he was all fire. Confident, charming, ruthless. But now, after building an empire from scratch, he's starting to see the cracks forming in his own foundation. His crew isn't the same anymore. Bodhi, the hacker who helped him launder millions, seems distant. Tyson, his driver and loyal soldier, has been acting strange, showing up late and avoiding eye contact. Even Stacy, the woman who once risked everything for him, now keeps her distance, trapped between her duty as an agent and her feelings for Dwight. The air in Tulsa feels different, tense, electric. Dwight's instincts are screaming at him, but he can't point to the threat. He's surrounded by people, yet somehow more alone than ever. As Dwight stares out the bar window, we see his reflection, strong but haunted. The show doesn't need dialogue to tell us what's happening. The camera does the talking. His reflection flickers with the light from a nearby fire, a warning that his world is about to ignite. Then, his phone buzzes. A message from Chickie. Just 2 words. "We're coming." It's a short scene, but packed with meaning. For 2 seasons, Dwight has been running from his past in New York, trying to carve out a new life in Tulsa. But the past doesn't stay buried. Chickie, the man who took over the Invernizzi family after Dwight's exile, is finally making his move. The uneasy truce is over. Meanwhile, the episode cuts to Chickie's headquarters. He's sitting in his sleek Manhattan office, calm, sipping a drink. On the desk, there's a photo of his father and Dwight together from years ago. 2 men who used to run the city side by side. Chickie looks at the photo for a long time before sliding it into a drawer. The gesture says it all. Loyalty means nothing now. Back in Tulsa, Dwight begins to prepare. He doesn't say it out loud, but he knows what's coming. War. He calls his crew for a late-night meeting. The music shifts, low, tense strings mixed with a slow drum beat. Everyone gathers around the table, their faces lit by the flickering neon light. Dwight stands tall and says quietly, "If they want to fight, they'll get one. But we do it my way." It's not just another gangster speech. It's a man accepting his fate, ready to burn for what he's built. The team nods, but their eyes tell a different story. Fear, doubt. The empire Dwight built on loyalty is starting to crumble, not from outside attacks, but from within. As the scene fades out, the camera lingers on Dwight's face one last time. He closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, and the faint sound of sirens echoes in the distance. The storm has started to move in, and just like that, the calm before the burn is over. The night in Tulsa feels heavy, like the sky itself knows something is about to break. The streets are empty, and the hum of distant sirens echoes through the air. Inside the Black Macadam, Dwight's crew is gathered again. But this time, there's no laughter, no confidence, just silence. You can almost feel the tension pressing down on everyone in the room. Dwight walks in slow, calm as ever, but his eyes move sharp, reading the room. He's been around long enough to know when loyalty turns sour. Tyson avoids his gaze. Bodhi keeps fidgeting with his phone. Mitch, the old bar owner, stares into his drink like it's going to give him answers. Something is off, deeply off. Then it happens. A car pulls up outside. Headlights pierce through the bar windows, and everyone freezes. Dwight gives a small nod and Tyson goes to check. But before he can open the door, the sound of gunfire tears through the silence. The windows shatter, glass raining down like ice. Dwight dives behind the counter, pulling his gun. It's chaos. Loud, messy, terrifying. And in that chaos, Dwight sees it. Bodhi slipping out the back door, his phone still glowing in his hand. A message screen flashes for a second before the screen locks. One name stands out, Chickie. That's when the truth hits. The betrayal didn't come from outside. It came from the inside. Dwight yells for his crew to take cover and fires back, hitting one of the attackers. But the damage is already done. By the time the shooting stops, the bar is wrecked. Bullet holes in the walls, smoke in the air, and blood on the floor. Mitch lies injured. Tyson is shaking. And Bodhi is gone. The camera cuts to Dwight standing in the middle of the wreckage. He's breathing hard, face covered in dust and anger. The neon sign outside still flickers. Black Macadam. But half the letters are broken now, glowing weakly like a dying flame. It's a visual metaphor. The Empire is cracked, and the light is fading. Dwight kneels beside Mitch, who whispers, "He sold us out." Bodhi called them. Dwight doesn't respond. His face hardens, eyes cold as stone. There's no rage in his expression, only disappointment. The kind that comes when a man realizes trust was his biggest mistake. Cut to Bodhi. He's meeting Chickie in a dimly lit parking garage. Rain pours down, washing the blood from his hands. But not the guilt. Chickie hands him an envelope, money, thick and dirty. Bodhi hesitates, then takes it. Chickie smirks and says, "Every king needs a Judas." That single line hangs heavy, brutal, poetic, true. Meanwhile, back at the bar, Dwight lights a cigarette. The smoke curls up slowly, mixing with the haze from the gunfire. He looks around the destroyed bar. The walls that once echoed with laughter and power now whispering betrayal and loss. He takes a long drag and says quietly, almost to himself, "Never thought it'd be one of my own." The soundtrack turns low and mournful, a single guitar string bending under pressure. The pacing slows. Dwight walks through the bar, stepping over glass and bullet casings, each step echoing like a countdown. He picks up Bodhi's empty whiskey glass from the counter and stares at it. It's a small, quiet moment, but powerful, because Dwight doesn't need to say it. We already know, the Empire didn't fall tonight. It was betrayed from within long before the bullets flew. As the scene fades out, we cut to a wide shot of Tulsa. The city lights burn in the distance, and the bar's neon sign flickers one last time before going dark completely. The screen fades to black, and just like that, the fire inside Dwight's empire has been lit by the hands of someone he trusted the most. Tulsa wakes up to smoke. The skyline that once shimmered under Dwight's control now flickers with flames. The war isn't coming anymore. It's already here. The peace Dwight tried to build with iron and respect has shattered overnight. And as dawn breaks, the city becomes a battlefield without rules. The camera opens on Dwight standing outside the Black Macadam. The bar, his crown jewel, is gone. The windows are blown out, the walls scorched black. The sign that once carried his name now hangs crooked, half lit, half dead. He stands in silence, the sound of crackling fire behind him, and for the first time he looks small, a king without a kingdom. But Dwight Manfredi isn't the kind of man who runs. He's the kind who rebuilds, even if he has to do it with blood. He gathers what's left of his crew, Tyson, Mitch, and a handful of loyal men who still believe in him. Their faces are bruised, burned, and broken, but they're ready. There's no talk of surrender, just payback. Dwight moves like a soldier. Every step has purpose. Every word has weight. He knows Chickie wants him gone. Not just out of Tulsa, but off the map completely. And if he's going down, he's taking Chickie's whole operation with him. The scene cuts to Chickie's crew rolling into town. Black SUVs, heavy weapons, men in suits with dead eyes. Tulsa's quiet streets turn into war zones. Gas stations explode. Gunfire echoes down alleyways. Innocent people run for cover as two worlds collide. New York's mafia muscle against Dwight's homegrown empire. It's chaos. Beautifully shot chaos. The editing is fast, the soundtrack pounding with drums and deep bass. Dwight's men strike first, hitting one of Chickie's warehouses. Flames burst through the windows as the camera pans across the destruction. But Dwight isn't celebrating. He knows what comes next. Retaliation. In one of the most gripping scenes of the episode, Dwight confronts Bodhi. It's not about money anymore. It's about betrayal, about brotherhood. Bodhi pleads that he had no choice. Chickie threatened his family. Dwight doesn't yell. He doesn't curse. He just stares, silent, eyes full of fire. Then he says, "You always have a choice. It's cold. Final." He turns his back and walks away, leaving Bodhi in the dark. Alive, but dead inside. Back at his base, Dwight studies a map of Tulsa spread across the table. Red markers show Chickie's operations, strip clubs, storage houses, cash fronts. Dwight plans to burn them one by one. Not for power, not even for revenge, for control. The one thing he's always needed to survive. The next sequence plays out like a war montage. Explosions, gunfights, street chase. Dwight's men fight hard, but they're outnumbered. One by one, they start to fall. Tyson barely escapes an ambush. Mitch takes a bullet to the shoulder. The cost of loyalty keeps rising, and still, Dwight doesn't stop. Even when blood covers his hands, even when the city turns against him, he keeps going. Because that's who Dwight is. A man who refuses to kneel. As the episode nears its midpoint, Dwight's empire burns across Tulsa. His clubs, his money, his name, everything he built turns to ash. But in the middle of that destruction, something shifts. He stops being a king fighting for his throne and becomes a survivor fighting for his soul. The final moments of this section are quiet, haunting. Dwight sits alone on a rooftop, watching Tulsa burn below. The glow of the fires reflects in his eyes. He whispers to himself, "If this is the end, then let it end my way." Then he stands, loads his gun, and walks back into the fire. The screen fades to black, only the sound of crackling flames and a single line of dialogue echoing in the background. Every empire burns, but not every king dies. The city of Tulsa is quiet again. The gunfire has stopped, the smoke is fading, but the damage remains. In the streets, in the people, and in Dwight Manfredi himself. The empire that once made him untouchable now lies in ruins. His men are either gone, dead, or scattered. His money is worthless, and his enemies are still out there, watching from the shadows. But Dwight isn't thinking about revenge anymore. Not now, not after everything. He sits alone in what's left of his bar. The walls charred, the air heavy with the smell of smoke and whiskey. There's a broken stool, a shattered glass, and a small photo of his daughter sitting on the counter, miraculously untouched by the fire. He picks it up gently, brushing off the ashes. For the first time in the episode, we see him break, not with rage, but with silence. The background music softens, a low piano melody, almost like a requiem. The camera lingers on Dwight's face, and in that stillness, we see the truth. He didn't lose to Chickie. He lost to time, to loyalty, to the idea that you can build something pure out of blood and crime. Then, the flashbacks begin. A haunting montage of everything that led to this moment. Dwight arriving in Tulsa full of ambition, building his crew, laughing with Bodhi and Tyson. The moments of peace he thought would last forever. They play like ghosts flickering through smoke, fading faster with each memory. He whispers to himself, "I built a kingdom out of nothing, and maybe that's what it became. Nothing." And then, the final act begins. Chickie arrives in Tulsa. Not with an army this time, but with confidence. The kind that only comes when you think you've already won. He finds Dwight waiting for him, sitting on the bar counter, cigarette in hand. There's no gunfight, no shouting. Just two men who know exactly who they are. Chickie smirks and says, "You lost everything." Dwight exhales smoke, looks him dead in the eye and replies, "Not everything. I still got my word. You can't burn that. It's quiet, powerful. Two old wolves staring each other down, one made of greed, the other made of regret." Chickie leaves without another word, because deep down, he knows Dwight didn't lose. He just refused to play the same game anymore. The next morning, Tulsa is washed in sunlight again. The bar still stands, burned but alive, like Dwight himself. He walks out into the street, his coat still torn, his face bruised, but his stride unbroken. People watch him pass, some out of fear, some out of respect. Narration fades in, calm and reflective. Empires fall not when they're conquered, but when the man who built them finally sees what they've cost. The ending montage shows Dwight leaving town, a small bag over his shoulder. The camera pans up to the Tulsa skyline, smoke still curling into the air, glowing orange in the distance. The city keeps moving, like nothing ever happened. But for Dwight, this was the end of everything he knew, and maybe the beginning of something else. As he drives away, the screen fades to black. The faint echo of his voice lingers. "You can burn my empire, but not my name." Then, silence. The closing credits roll over the final shot, the Black Macadam sign flickering one last time before it dies completely. And that's how Tulsa King season 3 episode 8 ends, with Dwight Manfredi standing in the ashes of his own creation, proving that even kings must pay the price for their crowns. The fire is gone now. What's left is silence, the kind that doesn't just fill a room, it fills a man. Tulsa stands still, carrying the scars of Dwight Manfredi's rise and fall. The empire has burned, the crown has crumbled, but one truth remains unshaken. Dwight changed this city forever. This isn't just the story of a gangster who lost his grip. It's the story of a man who tried to rewrite his past and ended up paying for it in full. Every flame that consumed his world wasn't just destruction, it was confession, a cleansing. As the episode closes, we see Dwight driving away from Tulsa one last time. The horizon stretches out in front of him, endless and uncertain. His car is old, his hands bruised, but there's a strange peace in his eyes. The kind that only comes when a man has nothing left to lose. The road reflects in his windshield like a ribbon of light, leading nowhere and everywhere at once. The narration deepens. Empires are built to fall, but legacies live in the people we leave behind. And that's where the hidden meaning of Episode 8 truly lands. Dwight's story has never been about winning or losing. It's about what kind of man he becomes when the power fades, when all the soldiers are gone, when the only thing left is the truth staring back at him. Throughout Tulsa King, we've seen Dwight fight everyone. The mob, the law, even his own conscience. But in this final chapter, the fight turns inward. He isn't battling Chickie anymore. He's battling himself. The man who once demanded loyalty finally learns what it costs. The man who built an empire finally sees what it took to keep it standing. The scene cuts to Stacy, watching the news as reports of the Tulsa fires spread. She closes her eyes, a single tear sliding down her cheek. For her, Dwight was never just a criminal. He was a mirror, a reflection of everything she could have been if she'd taken a different path. Tyson, too, carries that weight. We see him standing outside the burnt ruins of the Black Macadam, holding Dwight's old lighter in his hand. He flicks it once. It sparks, but doesn't catch. He smiles sadly and says under his breath, "Guess even the fire's tired." These moments are what define Tulsa King's emotional finale. It's not about the bullets or betrayals anymore. It's about the marks people leave behind, the scars, the lessons, the choices that refuse to fade. Then comes the closing shot. One of the most haunting of the entire season. A lone figure, Dwight, standing on the edge of an empty field at dusk. The sky burns orange, the last trace of fire on the horizon. He lights a cigarette, takes one slow drag, and says quietly, "The trick isn't staying on top. It's knowing when to walk away before you burn with it." He drops the cigarette. The camera follows it as it hits the ground, the ember glowing like the last heartbeat of an empire, fade to black. A single line appears on screen. Every empire burns. Some men walk through the fire. Others become it. And that's the message of Tulsa King Season 3, Episode 8. Not just about the fall of a criminal empire, but the transformation of a man who finally learns what it means to be free. Because in the end, Dwight Manfredi doesn't die as a gangster or even as a king. He dies as something rarer, a man who finally let go.